28. Kei stood by the limo for a moment, praying for courage. Tadashi was keeping the paparazzi away and he couldn't see Tobio's parents anywhere nearby. He looked to his left and found Yachi, who gave him a reassuring nod. He slowly made his way back to the gravesite. Tobio was sitting next to Shoyo, an arm wrapped around his shoulders. It's time. Show. Kei held out his hand to Shoyo. He looked up with a vacant stare. He put his hand in Kei's and stood up. Let him sit for as long as he wants. Tobio stood up and grabbed Shoyo's arm. Kei kept hold of Shoyo's hand, completely ignoring Tobio. Tell me what you need. Do you want to be here when they lower the casket? Shoyo shook his head. I can't watch that again. When they threw dirt on my mom. Kei removed the space between them and kissed Shoyo's temple. Shish, it's okay. I'll take care of it. Shoyo gripped the sleeve of Kei's coat. Let me say goodbye. He went to his father's casket, keeping hold of Kei's hand. He set his other hand on the casket and immediately started to sob again. He leaned down and kissed it, then turned and fell into Kei's arms. Margaret unrolled her window and tracked Tobio as he walked away. That's right. You walk away like a good little boy. Yachi gave Margaret a thumbs up. Margaret chuckled and returned the gesture. Shoyo leaned on Kei as they made their way back to the limo. Tadashi opened the door for them, and Shoyo met his gaze. Thank you, Tadashi, for everything. He gave him a nod and offered his hand, helping him into the limo. He did the same for Kei and Yachi and then closed the door. He eyed Tobio and his parents, standing by their car, watching everything as he tapped the roof of the limo, letting the driver know he could go. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Tsukihina. Margaret slid in the seat next to Shoyo, wrapping her arms around him. Call me Margaret, honey. Shoyo rested his head against Margaret's and let his emotions go again. His hand reached for Kei's, finding it and squeezing it tightly. Later that evening, Shoyo opened his eyes and saw familiar wallpaper. Hotel, dead father, funeral, Kei, not ready to face any of it yet. He pulled the covers up around his face and closed his eyes again. Half an hour later, Shoyo's bladder woke him up. He pushed back the covers and got out of bed, never looking behind him to see if Kei was anywhere in the room. When he came back out, Kei was in bed and lifting the covers for him. Shoyo climbed back in and Kei snuggled up behind, spooning him. Shoyo kept his eyes open for a few seconds, soaking in the warmth of the man behind him. He rested his hand on Kei's arm and closed his eyes, refusing to care about what was real and what wasn't, because he didn't want any of the last few days to be real. Now's not a good time, Tadashi. It can wait. Shoyo opened his eyes when he heard Kei speaking in hushed tones across the room. I don't care what she's saying. And my wife can go to hell. Ex-wife. Yes. That's what I meant. Tell them I have no comment. Pictures? I was drunk. But I don't think anyone took pictures. Kei turned around and looked at Shoyo when Tadashi asked about him. He's devastated. Just like we'd all be if we lost both parents that young. Shoyo squeezed his eyes shut, trying to fight back the tears again. He pulled the covers up over his head when his phone started ringing. I have to go, Tadashi. Kei ended the call and walked over to Shoyo's phone where it was charging on the desk. He saw Tobio's name and pushed the red button. Shoyo threw the covers off his head. Who was it? He couldn't hide from the world forever. It was Tobio. Shoyo motioned for Kei to hand him the phone. He listened to the voicemail and sat up. He put his feet on the floor but didn't stand up. Kei stood in front of him. You're not going anywhere. I should shower. Shoyo fell forward a bit, resting his forehead on Kei's stomach. I could run a bath for you. Would that feel good? Would anything ever feel good again? Shoyo had his doubts. He'd given up on trying to stop the tears that just kept coming. Sho? Kei ran his fingers through Shoyo's hair. Tell me what you need. He needed time to stop and then reverse a few years. He needed to tell his dad to eat better and not work so hard. He needed to make healthy dinners for him, instead of making him fend for himself. He needed to give him more of his time. Not just holidays and a few Saturday mornings where they would catch up over coffee. For so long, he lived with a broken heart and then he died of one too. He could have prevented that, couldn't he? Couldn't he? Shoyo wrapped his arms around Kei's legs and hung on for dear life as another sob exploded from his chest. I don't know what to do for him. He won't eat the room service food. And the tears. Mom, they're constant. If he's awake, he's crying. Where are you? Margaret asked. I'm trying a different tactic. I'm buying his favorite junk food. Kei grabbed a bag of Doritos and put them in his basket. Good idea. When are you heading back to LA? Tomorrow morning. Kei, honey, listen to me. You're doing everything exactly right. He'll probably want some space eventually. But right now, he needs your constant support. Don't leave him alone for very long. Be there for him. And in time, the tears will subside. Kei breathed a sigh of relief. He was starting to feel a little bit helpless in the face of such grief. Thank you for being at the funeral. I know Shoyo really appreciated it too. Of course, dear. Kei put his basket full of snacks and drinks on the counter. Mom, I have to check out now. Okay, honey. Keep me posted. And if I can help, you know I'm here for you both. I will. Bye, Mom. Kei was halfway down the hall when he suddenly slowed his pace. Shocked at what he was seeing, Shoyo had just stepped out of the hotel room. Fully dressed. Hey, what are you? Kei stopped dead in his tracks when Tobio walked out of the room behind Shoyo. Kei hadn't been gone that long, had he? Maybe an hour at the most. Just long enough to make a few phone calls and pick up some food. He eyed them both and then asked, going somewhere? Shoyo adjusted the bag on his shoulder and stuffed his hands in his coat pockets. Just for coffee. A few awkward seconds of silence passed between the three of them. You haven't eaten anything. You need more than coffee. Kei held up the grocery bag. I bought your favorites. Doritos, Snickers, ice cream. Kei trailed off. Tobio took Shoyo's elbow. I'll make sure he eats some real food. Shoyo took the few steps needed to be face to face with Kei. Thank you. The funeral. Everything you've done for my dad. I can't thank you enough. He gave Kei a quick hug and walked away. Kei stood there, speechless. What was he supposed to say or do? Just before they turned the corner and disappeared, he shouted, Shoyo. Shoyo stopped and turned around. Stay with me. Kei forced the words back down. Eat something. Soup. Eat soup. Shoyo managed a smile and nodded. Tobio put a possessive arm around him and urged him down the hall. Soup? Fucking soup? Was that all Kei had? What about, you're not going anywhere with him? Or I'm definitely not okay with you spending time with your ex. Because even if this was all fake, they were still supposed to be acting like their relationship was real. Weren't they? Kei tossed the bag of junk food on the bed and groaned in frustration. It was going to be a long evening. Hey guys, sorry this video was so short, but I've been kind of sick. I've been stressed from starting a new job and other life events, so I've been trying to rest. I'll be back to longer videos next week, and don't forget to comment any questions you have for my Q&A video. See you guys in the next one. Love you all.